y'all doing again? I'm gonna come back with you with this good basic information tutorial. I go to Newegg and I read a lot of reviews on people submitting on doing review on their product, and some of y'all views are some just ugh. I hate to say the word, but I'm just gonna say it as backwards, or discrete information that y'all putting out. Okay, I'm using in my PC build. I'm going with the socket 1150 B85MG motherboard. Now, what I suggest everybody to do is use PC Part Picker System Builder, because this helps y'all put together y'all parts, and this will make sure that the part that y'all putting with the motherboard and the CPU is compatible or not. Or the CPU is compatible, you'll get a green light with everything, but you may get a red bar saying that you need to put a CPU cooler, or you got the wrong CPU for the board. Okay, I'm going back to this. Now, one person gave it a review of one egg. He said pros were good for 2 months. So it worked good for 2 months. Cons started failing after 2 months. Okay, the reason why. When I first got it, did not use it for 2 months. And when I finally built my PC within the first 2 months of using it, stopped accepting my i5 4460 after a few weeks. Started boot looping, etc. with no warning. It's this random restart every 10 minutes to 1 hour. Okay, the thing he did here was wrong was right here. People, when you buy your motherboards and CPU, it is recommended that you update your BIOS before going through with the install of the operating system. If you don't up your BIOS, you will have issues. Now, what I would have went with more with the i3 instead of an i5. Now, I'm going back to System Builder. Here, as I added the CPU, I'm going to take it off. He used the Intel i5 4460. I'm taking it off. See, now I got no issues. It's a green bar. Now, I'm going to add his CPU back on, which was the i5 4460. Bam, there's the red bar. When y'all get a red bar, that let me know that this CPU having issues. Why I have issues? Because I got to update the BIOS. When you update your BIOS, you will not have no issue. This is one reason why you got to go with a low-graded CPU more than a high-graded CPU. Now, if you went with more of an i3 4400 or anything like that, you will have no issue at all. Okay, now I'm going to click on this to see details below. Warning, some Intel B84 chipset motherboard may need a BIOS update prior to using a Haswell refreshed CPU. That's another thing. Understand the CPUs y'all using for your boards. Certain motherboards and CPU work fine, like Coffee Lake or etc. When you upgrade more to a Haswell or future processor, you need to update your BIOS so your BIOS can recognize the chipset. Now, I'm going to take it off. I'm gonna pick another CPU. I'm going with a more of a low grade CPU. I'm going with the i3 4370. Once again, as you see, it gives me a red bar. That letting y'all know that you cannot use this CPU. Why? Because I need to upgrade the BIOS to use this CPU. Now, I'm gonna take the CPU off, and I'm finna go with a downgrade CPU. I'm finna go with the Intel Pentium G3420. Bam! No issues or incompatible file. I got a green bar. That means I could use this CPU and update the BIOS, and I could add a i7 or an i5 down the line. This is one reason why when I do my PC part build list, I go to PC part picker to go ahead on and make sure I have no issues with the CPU and motherboard. If I go with the full build without using this PC part picker, my build list is going to be it is going to be non coherent or wrong information. That means that y'all go buy the parts. Some of y'all go buy, boom, you buy the parts off my part list, and you build your PC, and then you don't get nothing, no boot up. That means the CPU off the build list, I recommend it, is not compatible with the motherboard until you update your BIOS. This is one reason why J2Cents, Paul Hardware, and Bitwit tells you if you buy a low grade motherboard or a mid grade motherboard, not the high end one, like if you're going to do a Ryzen build, and say for instance you go ahead and use the Asus Prime A320 series, you have to update your BIOS before you put a Matisse CPU on it. So that means you got to buy a low grade 4-core 4-thread CPU and update your BIOS, which is not an issue. This is one reason why I recommend everybody to use PC part picker to go through your parts, so you won't have no incompatibilities found putting all your parts together. This is a great resource information tutorial to all y'all newcomers, because I know every time I go to Newegg and I read all of y'all reviews, 99.9% of y'all don't know what the hell y'all doing, and which just frustrates me, because y'all get these wonderful parts and y'all quick to write a bad review on it because you bought the wrong CPU or you bought the wrong RAM for it, and or you probably bought the wrong SSD or the wrong video card, because a lot of video cards is not compatible with some of the boards y'all use. So I prefer for y'all to go ahead on and all y'all future builds to newcomers is use the PC part picker. Now I know how to build PCs, and I still use the PC part picker, because if I sit down here and team a wrong CPU with the motherboard and not knowing it, the compatibilities to it, is going to be false information given to y'all, and it's going to make my list look bad. So I recommend everybody use PC part picker. I'm going to go ahead and put the information in my description below, so y'all could go ahead on and understand what y'all doing. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. You can't go wrong with it. Also, it will give y'all good deals of where y'all should go and buy your parts. Like here, it tells me I can get my parts from Amazon. Sometimes it's I can get my parts from Newegg. Sometimes it'll be a mixture of everything from B&H, Newegg, Amazon, Office Depot, whatever. It'd be a mixture of everything. So whatever y'all feel comfortable in buying your PC parts, or whatever part components y'all want to buy, then do it. Also, here it gives y'all the estimated wattage in the corner. So a lot of people make some mistakes when they buy their power supply units. They go ahead on and buy a GPU card that is 650 or higher PSU recommended, or it could be 500 PSU recommended. Some people buy a 350 power watt supply unit or a 400 power supply unit, always go to the manufacturer website and do your reference on what is the recommended power supply used for the GPU. If you're under the GPU, it will let you know as you boot up you need recommended power for your GPU. It will say, oh, you low power on your GPU. So that means you got to go out and buy the recommended power supply for your GPU. So make sure y'all use the PC part picker in y'all build list and building y'all picking y'all parts. Y'all can't go wrong with it. I use it. This is one reason why I come up with a good discrete part PC build list, and I put them up. Yes, I do a lot of entry levels and low grades, so y'all could go ahead on and get the CPU and upgrade the BIOS, and then later on down the line you could go ahead on and make some upgrades to it. That's why I do entry levels, or I just go ahead and do full straight out game levels, because I know what boards to put on by going to the manufacturer websites and doing my information first before I start doing my builds. Alright, I'm glad y'all enjoyed this tutorial video. Go ahead on and hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'm going to get back with y'all with more great, wonderful content. Peace.